You know what I thought I'd do today? Instead of just a boring hot lap video, I would actually walk you through some of it. Now that EA owns Codemasters and by proxy the remnants of Slightly Mad Studios, they've actually turned off the leaderboards for Project Cars 2 as well as delisted the game from storefront. So time trial mode doesn't even work in the game. Like the option's grayed out. But they didn't blow away the leaderboard archive, so whenever you load into a race or a practice session, it still shows you the overall record for that vehicle on that track. So today we're taking a crack at the Nissan GTP ZXT world record at Willow Springs International. You'll notice I'm also not running in mineshaft conditions here. I intentionally set the date of this open practice to late November, which is when I'm recording this, to kind of give myself realistic weather. Setup-wise, okay, let's just stop here. This is a PSA for like the 300 people who still watch my stuff. Default sim racing setups are absolutely trash. Sometimes you're lucky if a manufacturer gives you a set of real-world baseline setup values, and sometimes you're lucky if a dev actually sits down and builds a nice baseline setup, like one that you can actually use. Most of the time, though, unfortunately, it's just a set of random numbers or randomly eyeballed numbers. I'm going to put a changelog on the screen right now. This is what I changed compared to the default setup. As I was going through and making my tweaks, literally none of the values made sense to me. Like, the boost setting is at 50% to start. There's really no reason for this. You can run this car anywhere from 80 to 100, and it's fine. And you can get away with closing the ductwork, too. You also have, like, quadruple the downforce you actually need. This car naturally generates so much downforce that anything beyond the bare minimum is actually a trap. It's just extra drag that's going to slow you down. The default spring rate, shock package, and ride height only amplify this because it gives this car a really extreme angle of attack, so I had to dial all of that out. And then lastly, by default, this car has no sway bar on either end of the car. Yeah, it needs sway bars. It turns a lot better if you do that. Like, that's kind of necessary. If your sim racing entails anything beyond installing random Assetto Corsa mods and driving them around for a few laps, you owe it to yourself to really dig into this part of the game and learn car setup theory, even if it's just basic adjustments. Because it's crazy how many first-party cars and really good third-party cars set you up for failure by default. Moving on from that topic, let's talk about the Project Cars franchise here quite quickly. I know I had a small hand in this game in that I worked on testing patches, but I am but just one man. I unfortunately did not have much of a say in how this game handled. It was not my department, it was above my pay grade. All I could do is report feedback, and if people listened to it, they listened to it. If they didn't, they didn't. I believe they made the wrong decision. The Steam metrics display that. It is what it is. Project Cars as a franchise, in my opinion, was labeled as Simcade or not a serious simulator due to the following three handling issues the game has. And you'll see all three on display as we begin our timed lap here. The game has no throttle control whatsoever. Your throttle pedal is an on-off switch. In high horsepower cars, you don't need to manage the throttle at all. There's no technique required beyond stomping the gas. It's pretty much point and shoot. Second, all the cars have excessive lateral grip. I mean, look at this. There is no footage of IMSA GTP prototypes rocketing around corners flat out at 260 like this. It's just crazy. And the third and final issue, the cars are too responsive. The cars literally turn as fast as you can move your hands. Every single car feels kind of like Grand Prix Legends, where the moment you breathe on the steering wheel, the car just cuts in that direction. On hot laps like this, there's basically no technique needed. However fast you can move your hands is however fast the lap ends up being. It literally feels like you're driving in fast forward. All three of those traits combined result in a game where the lap times are too fast compared to the real-world counterparts. You can get away with really insane setup values because the car is always responsive and willing to do whatever you ask of it all the time. And driving technique basically goes out the window in favor of just pushing as hard as you can until the car violently wrecks. There's a reason I haven't killed the footage yet. This is what I mean by being able to push as hard as you can until the car shakes itself off the track. Let's take this corner in 5th instead of 4th flat out. When have you seen an IMSA GTP car snap loose like that?